Okay, I seriously love hosting this podcast. And one of the biggest surprises has been the amount of support that we have received from all of you, our listeners, and our amazing sponsors. We have partnered with Promise Grounds, a Texas-based company that also supports global mission by giving clean water ounce per ounce. They provide everything in our studio, from K-cups to fresh coffee beans to all of these adorable cups that we use on set. One of my favorite things to do is personalize each of these cups and recite scripture over our guests before we start recording. If you want to check out these adorable cups and some amazing coffee, click on the link below in our show notes and check out Promise Grounds. Click on the link below in our show notes and check out Promise Grounds. Today's episode is brought to you by Sugaring LA in McKinney, your go-to spot for beauty that makes you feel confident and cared for. Whether you're looking for expert sugaring, skincare, or just a little self-care moments, they've got you covered. Treat yourself today. You deserve it. Check out Sugaring LA in McKinney or click on the show notes below for deals, promos, and discounts. Thank you, Sugaring LA, for sponsoring this podcast. And I have Sonya Jacobs. She has quite the story for us, and she is an expert in some of the most amazing things that I know you guys need to hear about. From expert in sex. She went to school to study sex. Is that not the funniest thing? Like, if you're not a graduate yet, you can go to school to learn about like good sex.
Can never find it. Sexual discipleship.
Oh, that's even
some of my postgraduate work.
That's even better. Well, that is part of her expertise. How fun is that? I didn't learn that right away, but she had the privilege of mentoring and discipling my husband and I during a very difficult season that we went through. But we won't get into that because we'll save that for a later time. But she is going to share, I'm going to ask some questions and she's just going to share kind of what's trending right now in marriages and what we're seeing in the church and discipleship. And we're just going to kind of talk about things that are relevant for today. So my first question is so she's a counselor. She meets with people. There's so much more to her story and she'll just share it as we go. But what are you seeing right now? Like in terms of, divorce is on the rise. We recently started a single mom support group and we just see so many women that are struggling and the reason behind divorce. So like, what are the things that are coming up the most for you right now?
Okay. So when I have a couple that I'm going to work with, one of the things that I need to know fairly quickly is, do they both want healing?
Mm-hmm.
Are they both looking to repair whatever it is that's dysfunctional and not working well? And then to get to reconnection and then finding the tools that they need to stop the patterns that they're in. And if that's where we're at, that's one direction that we can definitely talk. Now, what am I seeing in the couples who are choosing the avenue of divorce? That is that's a different bucket. And toward that end, I think that women are more independent than they've ever been.
That's so good.
I think women are more, they have more ability to financially take care of themselves now more than ever in the history of humanity. So some of the constraints that would have kept a person in a marriage when they were unhappy, when they didn't understand the difference between a covenant and a contract, all of those different elements. Now, patterns of behavior, patterns of dysfunction, I can take care of myself. I don't have to stay in this. More women are filing for divorce than men. So that would definitely be something in the last 15 years that feels really different.
Well, yeah, I can see that definitely being a shift with women taking, we went from the burn your bra society where women took charge and now women are really implementing, this independence. And talk to me about that biblically. Like that's not God's design for a woman to be in a place of complete independence and isolation and separated. Like we are unto to come. What is the word that you love? It's in Genesis. You talked about it in Reengage when you and your husband shared about it.
Well, ultimately, we're supposed to be, according to Genesis, and we're supposed to be in a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And that word, where that comes from, is it's not good for man to be alone. I want you to have a partner. I want you to have a Azer Conegdo.
That's the word.
That's and I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it perfectly in its Hebrew format, but that's a Hebrew phrase. And it really does have the implication more of like a cop show. Like, I've got your back. Like, you don't need to worry. Like, we're back to back. I've got you.
Partnership.
And it is a partnership. That's what that word actually meant. Right. It was translated. So if y'all think about this, so we've got the scripture, the Holy Scriptures in their original languages were translated into German and into English, think medieval kind of time frame. And so it was often monks that were schooled in understanding the original language, and then they were sitting for hours and hours and hours and hand translating these original language scrolls into what we call our Bible. And when they got to that particular word, Azer Conegdo, there's usually multiple translations for lots of words in the Bible. So many of us are familiar with like the word love. When we see that in the New Testament, that it could be different kinds of love. There's phileo love, like friendship love. There's agape love. There's different kinds of love. But the only English word we have for that is love. So that's true for most of those original language words. So it's not good for you to be alone. I want you to have a blank. This word is Azer Conegdo. The monks are looking at it and they're like, well, God couldn't have meant partner, even though that's the best translation for this word, because partnership would have alluded to an equality, and women were still owned. Like, I'm going to give, this man my goat and this bar of gold that I've kept. And then I'm going to buy your daughter from you. And then I own her, and she's going to give me children and work this farm with me. So that was the experience while the monks were translating. The concept of partnership was, I think, too foreign for them, which is why they used the word we're more familiar with, which is helper or helpmate. It's not good for you to be alone. I want you to have a helper. That's a very different way to perceive this. And it kind of even implies like, I've got stuff to do in the garden. I want you to be my little helper. That's not what God's vision when he was putting us together as husband and wives. So that's Genesis 2. And then, he creates Adam, he creates Eve. He gives them this job of taking care of their garden. Like, it's a beautiful place, gives them parameters, gives them boundaries, and says, go, enjoy, be fruitful, multiply, enjoy each other. This is why a man shall leave his father and mother, and a woman leave her home, and the two shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, and they felt no shame. Now, that's the original design of marriage. This is the first marriage. This is the one who created it. And that sounds lovely. Like, we're partners. We've got things to do together. We're making love. We're making babies. Like, we're completely that they were both naked and they felt no shame. The implication of that is fully known and unconditionally loved. Everything about me. And as I expose myself to you more and more and more, you choose to love me unconditionally. I mean, if that is marriage, sign us all up.
That's so good.
Now, that's all chapter 2. Chapter 3, something happens, and it's the fall. And now we have hard to work the garden. Women are going to suffer in their physical bodies with the pain of childbirth, which we know that actually the implication of that is all kinds of things that are happening in our bodies from our, puberty up through peri and menopause. And then, I don't know, I don't think it ever ends in this life. So we've got that going on. And then there's this one little thing that says like, oh, and wives, you're going to want to control your husbands, but they're going to have leadership over you. We miss that one. We don't talk about that part of the curse a lot. So there's an implication there that something has happened and shifted because of sin in the partnership. So I think in modern marriage, we have an inkling and a desire for what Genesis 2 was.
Mm.
There's a seed of that God made that we want, and we're looking to find that. And then we're experiencing marriage now on the other side of the fall,
Mm.
where there's a tension, there's power struggles, there's roles and responsibility struggles. Good heavens, we could do 6 episodes on attachment styles,
Mm.
um, and what it looks like when an anxious attachment style marries an avoidant attachment style. Now let's throw in things like adult ADHD,
Autism is a big
yeah,
thing.
spectrum. Like there's just financial things, how we raise our children, our differences,
Social media.
the implications of what the distractions of busyness, cell phones, a constant like working from home, tension. We don't leave the office anymore like people did. That first arena of the post-industrial revolution, like, is still very traditional, where typically it was going to be a man who was going to go work in an office with other men. So
Mm.
there weren't the boundary issues. There might be one Meemaw in there who was working as their secretary for
Mm-hmm.
everybody, but there were no happy hours. There was no travel schedule with other like people of the opposite sex. Like that, it was just a very different environment. I think when I was growing up, I loved all those old shows like I Dream of Jeannie,
Mm.
and like that visual was real. That was kind
Oh,
of like,
Lucy.
the ladies are going to play bridge together. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to get our hair done every Friday, and we're going to have dinner ready and still be in our pearls. And that's not the life that we live anymore either. So I think in this modern season of humanity and Christianity, there's question and like, where do we fit? How do we do this? And again, as you see prophecy and as you see us getting closer and closer to the return of Christ, one of the things is the roles of women changes. Like he said, your sons and your daughters will prophesy. So even from a spiritual
Mm.
perspective, we've
That's
got it,
interesting.
financially, we've got it from a home management standpoint. Like men didn't vacuum 60 years ago, and they're like, baby on the hip, and like, I'm going to help clean up while, whatever. Like it's just very different, but there aren't a lot of parameters to help us understand
This new dynamic.
this new way of doing life
Mm.
in marriage specifically.
And so that shift really, like you would say that like whole momentum kind of really turned when? Like
It turned
15 years ago, would you say
fast.
COVID was like a huge predictor of that like transition where people, I mean, I know COVID changed a lot of things in our
Yeah.
culture and in American culture, but like that major shift. So whenever that was, but now we're in it. Like we're fully enthralled. It's like the salt and the pepper have already been mixed and we cannot unshake it back to what it was. We are just here in this movement. And what are some tips to like navigating that?
So when did that big shift happen? Our economy drives a lot of our choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's natural. We're not in an agrarian farming village
Right.
environment anymore. So when you really see that shift is in the 70s, the like recession that happened in the 70s, our economy went whoop whoop. Now there is women's liberation movement has happened. Women are allowed to work and not just allowed. Then within the 80s, the economy starts to shift back up, but we have now become more of a dual income
Mm-hmm.
society. So I'm a Gen Xer, so that means I grew up with like that whole latchkey kind of experience because mom and dad were both at work at 3 o'clock when kids got off the bus. It was an empty house. And so that was the first really big shift, and it happened very quickly. The expectations around that, though, was that women were going to be able to do everything.
Mm.
They were going to go to work and they were still going to get the groceries and they still were going to kind of come home and have dinner ready, make sure the kids had gotten their homework done. And dad was just primarily working. that is when we see the divorce rates really start to pick up, because that was completely like irrational. The expectation of that, what that was going to look like, how people were going to function in that. And no one had grown up learning about boundaries. So now we have coworkers of the opposite sex. We're traveling for work. So this is the 80s and 90s and the twos. All of those things are starting to shift. That one wasn't a hard turn. It was the economy shift in the late 70s, early 80s that had all these women like flooding in, and also during the wars. So when wartime comes, women would have to get into the workplace. So we're going into industry, we're going to the factory so that the men can go and serve. So that was the first taste of it. Then it became, normalized. Now, COVID specifically, one of the things that an experience that is different in marriage as a result of COVID is people remote working.
Yeah.
Like that was not a norm. Like that was a rare job, if you work from home. And then not only did we have some people working from home, oftentimes we had mom and dad working from home. And for a large chunk of that year, we had kids at home. So we were with each other 24/7.
Yes.
And that gave rise to taking the Band-Aid off of and exposing the dysfunction. So some of the things that we were able to just like ignore it, I don't have to look at it. Now we're staring at each other and we're like, I don't even like you. I'm with you all the time and I don't have anything to say to you. I barely could come up with something to talk to you about on a date night. Now I'm like with you for breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything.
I'm having a Clorox wipe my groceries and do the craziest things with COVID. I mean, that was such a wild time.
The fear, like how people
perceived it, or
people experience fear differently. And so people have fear. There's a book by John Ortberg that says, I'd like you more if you were more like me.
Oh, she's recommended that book to me
book
10
is
times.
Delightful, but it's really the title. Like just processing the title. I'd like you more if you were more like me.
Yeah.
We feel that way in marriage. That's when we're falling in love, we're not identifying how different we are. Oh, we have that in common. Oh, we have this in common. We're like the same person. Oh my gosh, we should get serious. Like that's what happens when you're in this space of falling in love. You're identifying all your common things. You might be attracted to some of the differences, but you identify and really celebrate the things that you have in common. When you start to really do life together, you need those differences.
Yes.
You need them, but you don't always like them.
Right.
So COVID also really highlighted things like, how do you feel about vaccines?
Right.
And vaccinations? Like, how do you feel about following government mandates? How do you really feel about political involvement in the pharmaceutical world? Stuff couples had never talked about, especially younger couples that had only been married a few years. This, it wreaked havoc in marriage regarding those things. But some of the positive things, again, is roles and responsibilities. Like things that couples never shared ever in the history of humanity. Like roles with kids, responsibilities around the home. Like all of a sudden, we're all here. We can all pitch in. And that became more normalized, and a partnership started to really rise up in that space in ways that it hadn't before. So it no bad. Some of it was really good.
Yeah, and COVID was different because it was abrupt. I feel like it just started in like November, December. And I remember I was working in radio and we all got sent home from the studio. And by February, we were just like in our homes and nobody knew. So it wasn't like there was this recession or this like gradual drip into this. It was like, nope, within 4 months, everything changed. Like it was so weird. So definitely saw a lot of things show up in marriages and relationships. And just, it just really did change our culture. Even the kids that are now, back into school, they say that you can kind of tell some of those students that have been affected by the home. But again, okay, so let's stay on this topic for a second, because again, I saw that shift with the working parents, and then the divorce came on, and then we have COVID and stuff. But now there's also this like, let's all make sourdough bread, buy land, get some chicken, and homeschool our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. But every time we have Snowmageddon and I'm home for 3 weeks or 3 days and like extended days through the weekend, not 3 weeks, but like a full week with my kids, and we can't do anything and go anywhere, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm not cut out right now for this homeschool life. And I do love it. Like I see it and it's such a beautiful thing. And maybe I don't know. You talk me through that, because there is this one concept that we kind of talked about, but then there's this like massive movement.
So there's even a phrase, trad wife.
Trad
wife. Have you heard that?
No.
It's a whole thing on Instagram, TikTok, like the girls that want to be trad wives. So
is it short for something?
Traditional.
Oh, trad wife.
Yeah, it's a thing.
The long skirt, sourdough bread.
Yes. So the movement that you're talking about, Ruthie, I think that we were all exposed to what it felt like to feel the world slow down. Like, we're not rushing out of the house to get to school.
Mm-hmm.
We're not rushing out of the house to get to baseball. We're not rushing out of the house to get into rush hour traffic.
Right.
We're not rushing out of the house to eat fast food one more time because we've had so much going on. So where it exposed for some people their differences, for other people, that Band-Aid came off and it was like, oh, is this what a traditional old school family life would feel like?
A homestead. Like,
yep.
This is
100%.
This is our homestead. This is our space that we've created. Mm-hmm. And it kind of feels like a grind, because we live in McKinney and we're in the hustle and the bustle. And like when I try to experience that, like my kids are home on Fridays and we try and wake up slow and enjoy it and have long weekends. The summer's going to be telling for me with my kids home. You know, we don't have them in any camps. We don't have them. We're traveling quite a bit. And I love that. Mm-hmm. That I love. The stay in bed, you know, just like
pajama
the
days.
Slowed down movement for my kids, because I can see their anxiety rise when it's like, get your shoes on, we got to go, blah, 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 blah.
All of us.
Yeah.
Like there's a rush.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I think that John Mark Comer book, you know, about hurry.
Mm-hmm. The ruthless elimination of hurry.
Like that like became such a draw to people because we felt it and we felt that. So again, couples that were in good places, families that were in good places, they got a taste of this and like, oh, thank you. I just want to be with you all day. This is so good. And why are we trusting everything else instead of making some more decisions with our own autonomy? However, the economy again still has a lot more power in our decisions. Where people would have loved the ideology of homesteading, the reality, like rubber hitting the road, most people can't live on one income. They can't move out and pay for land, even if it's a couple of acres that would manage, you know, some fruit trees, some chickens, one cow. That, you know, most people can't really do what the ideology of that was. What sounded fascinating about that wasn't really a possibility for most people. And things like that homeschooling and hybrid education, like my children have done hybrid education pre-COVID since 2000.
Before it was trendy.
Yeah, 2011, I think is when we started. And
OG homeschool kids.
Yeah, like hybrid education was a beautiful thing because I didn't want to. I don't have control issues, but I hate feeling like I'm subject to somebody else micromanaging my life. And the education system felt that way to me. And so finding something that had a little bit more unique, and I knew like our school is fairly large. And so there's a lot, and there's multiple of those types of schools, and they're becoming more and more popular. I think people want to have more ownership in what their children are learning, style of education that they're experiencing, and that is, I do also think, a direct impact of COVID. We saw so much shift to just computer learning.
Mm-hmm.
They're not writing anything. They're not reading a real book with pages. And I think for a lot of us, we were like, whoa, slow it down. AI may be taking over their, careers, but I want my child to know how to write
Yeah.
and to know how to express themselves creatively. So, and a lot of, parents and families made shifts, academically for sure, even if they couldn't afford the full homestead experience.
Yeah. That's awesome. A lot of the girls in our audience are really struggling with, I don't know, maybe unexposed or unmet expectations within infertility or loss, or just kind of going through a really difficult season. And they're finding that their marriage may not have the strength or the skills, the coping skills to kind of navigate some of these trials where it's like, okay, let's take an example. Let's create a woman who's got a rub with her husband. It's like, we can't get pregnant.
Mhm.
Like, I know so many marriages who have fallen apart in that infertility stage. Like, maybe this isn't God's design because his plan is to go therefore and be fruitful and multiply and create. And so there's this like, okay, this isn't happening. You're kind of waiting for that next season and you're stuck for 6, 7, 8, 10 years of just it not working. Or we have women who are going through IVF and it's physically demanding on their body and they're just kind of in these challenging seasons. Like, what would you speak to those marriages? I mean, obviously counseling is huge. Getting in, getting a third party, getting support, getting prayed over, reaching out to the church. But what can we encourage them with in a challenging season of like, man, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore.
Um, so I'm going to take my counselor hat off and just from a personal experience. Um, my husband and I got married when we were 20, and I am one of those people I'm very maternally driven.
Mm.
Like, I love baby dolls. I loved dressing my dolls. I loved pushing my dolls in strollers. I was tiny, like 3 doing that. I dressed we had a little poodle. I mean, he went in my stroller. Then I became a big sister, and my baby brother was born when I was 5.5, 6. I'm confident I gave him more bottles than my mother did. He was my baby. Mm-hmm. And so I share that with you because, like, there was never a question for me. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I've always wanted to be a mom.
Oh,
And so I get married at 20. We had no intention of starting our family. My first OBGYN appointment I went to for to prepare myself to get married. And he's like, oh my goodness, your cycle's all over the place. I think that's an ovarian cyst. And this man looked at me, I think I was 17, 18, and he was like, you need to be on birth control pills to regulate your cycle. And you're probably going to never have children. I walked out of his office and my fiance and my mom were like in the lobby, whatever, waiting on me. And I just like lost it because I was a kid. I wouldn't have known, and it was 1993, to be like, you have no idea what you're talking about, sir. You have no right to say that to me. Mm-hmm. With man, it is impossible, but with God, it's possible. Like, what are you talking about? And I didn't know to do that. I just felt like I had almost like had this curse laid on me. Mm. So at 25, I asked one. I was like, "Hey, I don't like the way these birth control pills make me feel. Like it was my weight would kind of go up and down. I would get headaches, which I've never had before, but my cycle was regular. That was nice." And he was like, "No, I'm not ready yet. We don't have our finances in order. All the things that you say, in your mid-20s or when you're ready to start, and one of you's ready, one of you's not." And so 26, like a year later, he was like, "Okay, I think we can start trying." I'm so excited. I get off everything and nothing happened. Hmm. And months and months and months and months and months, nothing happens. Now I can reflect back on this time and say, like, my husband was really trying to get his career going.
Mhm.
And y'all are gonna laugh. This was still back in the era where you had to check your temperature to figure out if you were ovulating.
Yeah.
So remember, I was irregular. The pills made me regular, so now I'm off the pills and I'm completely irregular again. I have no idea when I'm ovulating. There's no cute little app for cell phone. We didn't have cell phones back then. So I had like an old-fashioned thermometer, and I remember going like, do I stick this in my, like, what do I do with this thermometer?
Yeah.
Like, is that the temperature check or is it here? I mean, that's how, like,
I don't even
uneducated.
know. I don't know the answer.
It's here.
Oh, okay. So if you're listening, she's pointing down below or to her mouth.
An oral, or
you have to check your vaginal temperature.
And I was like, I don't know. That's
and you
uneducated.
just check your mouth.
Yeah.
So we have apps now. We probably won't need to do that, but that's funny.
And oral rings and all kinds of
things. My ring will tell me.
Like,
that's so funny. Okay.
We didn't have that. We were uneducated about these things. And
clearly,
I didn't know. But I can tell you now too, we were not having sex enough.
Oh, see, I told you she's the expert on sex. Here it goes.
Like, we just weren't. Like, there's a lot of sperm in there.
Yeah.
And the more you expose your eggs to your sperm, like, the more likely you are to get pregnant. And so we just weren't. And it took us 2.5 years and to get pregnant. And when I remember, I wasted, and we were in ministry, we weren't making very much money at all. And I remember just like wasting so much money on pregnancy tests. And I would buy them with like tears in my eye, like, why am I buying this? But I don't know if I'm late or not. Because you had no idea where I was in my cycle. But it feels like it's been a long time. And I had like an old-fashioned paper calendar that I would like cross off, and I'd put a little heart on it if we had sex.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute.
To try to figure out what the goodness was going on with my body. So, and I remember, like, I turned the shower on, I peed in a cup. I don't like peeing on a stick. I didn't want to get my hands.
Or if you didn't get enough pee.
Yeah. So I'd always pee it in a cup and then dip it.
Yep.
Because I didn't want it on me.
I'm a dipper. I'm a urine sample dipper. If you are a stick pisser here, comment below how you check.
I'm a dipper. So
I'm a dipper too.
I put it on the back of the toilet and go check on the temperature of the shower, and I'm picking it up to throw it in the trash.
Before looking at it?
I mean, I'm just kind of like,
you just know. Oh. And you
what? Yeah, and started bawling. So that was not the question you asked.
No, but I love that question. Or I love that answer. And I remember when Spencer and I got pregnant, it came out, I was 5 days late, and my test showed up so bright that I actually still had my underwear. And I walked out of the bathroom to show him at my ankles. And I'm like, Spencer! It was my first time ever seeing a line. We never had any miscarriages, no issue. That was the first time, and it was so vibrant and bright. Like, and it wasn't even, we didn't, I called the doctor and took the test with me to the doctor's office and accidentally pulled out a tampon because I was waiting for my period. And then I showed her the test. She's like, yes, I don't need to see that. Okay. But anywho, so
this is so gross. I still have mine.
Do you?
They're in the drawer, and I'm sure they're faded. I have like a sentimental drawer that has like really precious things to me. I'm sure they're crusty and gross.
What are you going to do with them?
I don't know.
You know what they do? Actually, they take the cap. I don't know if you had the cap kind of, they take the cap and they make jewelry out of it, or breast milk jewelry. I have breast milk from all three of my girls, and one breast milk, I was actually pregnant with a miscarriage. So I have 4 babies' milk. But they take the caps and they turn it into like jewelry and stuff. So maybe
that's so sweet.
Maybe you can put your dipstick in the trash and get your cap.
It was a cap for sure.
Keepsake. But I love that we do these weird things. I love the heart on your calendar. That like just I don't know why that makes me think of like so fun. Okay, but you had 2.5 year wait before you got pregnant with your first son. What was that like in your marriage?
Space, like I'm initiating more. And I'm probably initiating because I want a baby more than
We are talking about how the 2.5 year wait till Sonya and her husband conceived their son, and what their sex life was like, and what that like tension and that rub and that intentionality for intimacy looked like during that time?
So I think that my expectations were unspoken, and they were rising and becoming more intense. He's working harder on his career and not the one driving the baby train by any means. So his interest in that just was not what I had hoped or expected. So there's frustration with us. Like, we're frustrated with each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard season. And I don't know that anybody could have prepared me. It's not like the movies. And I think that that's probably the biggest piece of wisdom or guidance that I would ever give from a marriage perspective. Nothing is like the movies.
Or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of those other influential
it's just not
knockoffs.
Like the time frame of we're working on having a baby and how fun this is, and we're just having sex all the time, and this is taking us a long time, but we're gonna have sex all the time. Like, it's not like that for most people. And the money that you spend on pregnancy tests and how you feel every time it's negative when you want to see a positive, and when you're processing the hormonal changes, when you're taking fertility, medication. I had a prescription for Clomid, but I did not have to take it. I was literally waiting on my period to start.
Praise the Lord. I almost killed Spencer. I was like, how do people have sex on this stuff? I don't even want to be around me. I can't imagine wanting to have sex with me when I'm on Clomid.
And then when you're pregnant, a lot of people get put on things like progesterone. And of course, your hormones are going nuts for, it's not just the 9 months that you're pregnant. It's also the 9 months after and the entire time that you're nursing. Like, our bodies are going through so much, and we need to give each other breaks, because like when you go through puberty, and when you have kids who go through puberty, or when you have friends who, they have kids that you're like, man, go easy on them. Puberty's so hard. Some days you feel like a little kid still, and some days you think you're a grown adult, but you're really 13. Your body's going through so much, but we don't give each other that much grace when you're going through all of the things that your hormones are going through wanting to get pregnant and having to take medication to do that, and hormone replacement things to do that. When we go through perimenopause and menopause, and there's something that's real for those of you that are watching. It's called menopause. Nobody talks about it, but men go through pretty intense hormonal changes themselves.
We just used to call it a midlife crisis, where they end up with a Corvette and like an apartment on the beach, and you're like, what just happened?
And it's
menopause.
Menopause is much more accurate. They go through their own hot flashes.
Oh, wow.
Their own feelings of being burned out and not sure who they are. It's a whole thing. But all of that is hormones.
Right.
Which we need them, and we thank God for them. But man, they can really affect us relationally when we're feeling emotions that we can't really put name to, and be really challenging.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that I was thinking about this morning. I'm probably going into perimenopause, and I have toddlers. I can't imagine what it would be like perimenopause or menopause with teens when they're going through it and you're going through it. And I think that's pretty typical that like 40, 50, you would have a teen. We just started later and had a slow start to getting married and having kids. And so my last child was born at 40. So you're still in that season of trying, like there's hope, and just keep trusting in the Lord with that. But I have little kids, and so hopefully I will progress through my menopause before my kids are also trying to become pubescent. Is that even a word?
It is a word.
Oh, I feel so good. I went a little darker these days. I feel smarter. But the blonde's sneaking through, and I love it. Well, I think I would love, Sonya's ministry that she runs is called Enjoy Your Marriage. Isn't that the cutest thing? I love that, because I feel like we who are married, because we do talk to single women and women who are divorced, and there's just a gamut of listeners, but those who are married, I just want you to take like a minute to like evaluate where you are in your marriage. Like, are you actually enjoying it? Or are you just kind of walking through it and just in a season where you're like, well, we're not fighting, or we have some big decisions and we're just kind of putting it on hold, or we are avoiding something. Like, are you truly enjoying your marriage? And I just love that the simplicity of that. And the reminder of that, it is a gift from God to enjoy. And so we'll post some in the show notes about Sonya and how to get in touch with her if your marriage is, really struggling. She's amazing. She does virtual, she does in person if you're in the DFW area. But I will say this 1,000 times over. Other than Jesus, this is the reason I'm still married, because she navigated some of our big, deep challenges in our life. And I remember writing a letter, and I'll read it next time I have you on the podcast, and we'll talk about attachment styles, which I think would be really fun for our listeners. But I wrote her a letter after my dad died, just saying, like, the man my husband was in that moment and showing up for me and my family was so starkly different than the man that I'd been married to for so long. And I really attributed a lot of that to her faithfulness, her prayers, her bold influence in both of our lives. She got my husband an amazing mentor. She showed up for me. I mean, there was a time where she's like, all right, I need you to come to my house. Like, I just need to see you, and you need to be here. And just reached into the depth of my heart and said, you're going to be okay. And we're going to get through this. And divorce is no longer an option. And we're not going to talk like that. And we really just switched gears, and we went and fought for it. And it is like an amazing testimony of her and her faithfulness and just her diligence in pursuing the Lord on our behalf. So we'll post more about her in the show notes. Thank you for listening. If you have questions, comments, or want to know more from Sonya about attachment styles, I think would be amazing. But she is a wealth of knowledge, biblical knowledge, marriage, intimacy, all of that. So stay tuned for more. Love you, girls.
So good to be with you guys. And Ruthie,
yes,
you look stunning in this color. I also love the darker tones in your hair.
Yes, smarter.
And you, your passion for women, for helping women, for encouraging women, for cheering women on, is inspiring. And I'll tell you guys, the enemy, he doesn't want us to lean into each other. He wants us to be isolated and alone. And so the way that you champion deep female friendships and authentic female relationships and support of each other is inspiring, encouraging. Please keep going.
Thank you.
Proud
I
of
will.
you, sister.
So like and subscribe so we can keep going, right? That's what my kids say. We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye.